Hari Om, Om Shanti. Greetings to all the spiritual seekers. In today's divine production, let's chant a few shlokas from Bhagavad Gita, written by ancient sage Ved Vyas, the as-is words from Lord Krishna himself to Arjun and to us, of course, to the whole humanity, getting that wisdom, the most sought after wisdom, to fulfill our very human goals. As all of you know, that we need to meditate on the Bhagavad Gita, since it is the mother of wisdom. It has the Vedant from Upanishads, from four Vedas, also written by Ved Vyas. And also, as we mentioned, that he wrote Bhagavad Gita as the fifth Ved. According to Bhagavad Gita, we have five Vedas, including the four Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda, and the summary of all the Vedas and Upanishads in Bhagavad Gita in 700 and plus shlokas, 701. Bhagavad Gita provides us the immortal nectarian wisdom to all of us to drink and understand what all life is all about, materially and spiritually, the transcendental platform of the Almighty's abode, full of peace and bliss. We meditate upon Bhagavad Gita as it showers that wisdom to all of us and eventually enables us to cut the bonds to the sansaric life and go to our true home, that Satchitananda Sthavar, that abode of Satya, awareness and bliss, existence, awareness and bliss. That's our main goal as a human being. And according to this mother of wisdom, Bhagavad Gita, taught by Lord Krishna since time immemorial, but always we refer to this timeline as 311 trillion and 40 billion years in a Mahakalpa. And how many kalpas have passed? We really do not know. But many yugas have cycled through in its timeline. Who sets the timeline? Bhagwan, Lord Krishna sets the timeline on every manifestation that we can see as material and unmanifested form of the subtle things which we do not know, many of them as we cannot see with our naked eye. One has to have divine vision granted by the Paramatma himself, as he granted divine vision to Arjuna. And Vedvas granted the divine vision to Sanjaya to reveal the as-is incidents going on in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and for Arjun to see the Lord's cosmic form. One needs the divine vision, otherwise we can't. So, Bhagavad Gita does liberate us from our samsaric bonds and lets us serve at the lotus feet of the Paramatman or the Bhagavan or the absolute God. So eventually, what does Bhagavad Gita say actually? What does Lord Krishna recommend eventually? In the beginning, he does recommend to perform your duties. It means perform karma yoga without attachment to the fruits of your actions, and unselfishly perform all your duties without attachment to the fruits of your actions, and without attachment, not doing your action. You got to do your action. Then only with a dash of bhakti you can reach his abode. The second one, you can reach him through sannyas yoga, karma sannyas yoga. You renounce all your duties and then take to spiritualism, serving the God. That is bhakti yoga, having devotion, unalloyed devotion toward the Lord. So, truly, never run away from your material responsibilities and take to spiritualism to serve God with all your knowledge senses and action senses, thereby using those organs. Serve Him by focusing on the Almighty, on the Bhagavan, with undivided attention regarding Bhagavan as the father, mother, and everything, but not as He is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of the cosmos from time to time. So, in addition to this, Karma Yoga, Karma Sannyas Yoga, you have Gnana Yoga. Many a number of people believe in adopting Gnana Yoga, read a lot of scriptures, Vedas, acquire that knowledge about the absolute God, and they perform all their efforts, all their actions to reach the goal by treading the path of Gnana Yoga. But what does Lord Krishna suggest eventually? In the beginning, he suggests that, adopt Karma Yoga. If you're a Kshatriya or a warrior, you have skills in it and you got trained in martial arts. So you perform that duty. If you are a Brahmin, you perform a priesthood duty, or showing the path of spiritualism to other people while practicing. Be a Brahmin that way. Or a Vaishya performing a certain business, or doing work in the farmland, producing something for the greater good of the people while supporting yourself and your family with minimum utilization of what you have earned. So he recommends never to run away from your apara dharma, material dharma. That's what Lord Krishna says. But if you have had experience in your previous lives with material dharma and you fulfill all your material dharma in other lives, and then you are being born as another human being and you continue, maybe all of a sudden you wake up and then you want to take to spiritualism, and with great devotion towards the Lord, you give up all your material dharma and only adopt spiritual dharma, then Lord Krishna says, it is okay. There is an approval from the Lord Himself. He loves that. But it has to be done truly, not running away from your apara dharma, material dharma, all your obligations, your rights to your parents, to your elderly, and to your immediate family. You gotta fulfill that. That's what he recommends. You can also reach him through the path of knowledge, but it is very difficult if you are focusing on the absolute God, because you do not have any imagination of interactions with the absolute God, as it does not have any form or attributes or those divine, those gunas, those qualities, sattva, rajo, tamo. But whether he is absolute God or personalized God, Sakar, Roop, and Nirakar, they are full of divine qualities. But the Sakar Roop Bhagavan, in the form of Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, Narasimha Avatar, and other incarnations, all of them, if you worship, for that matter, to Lord Shankara or Lord Shiva, you have great focus. You can see them in any idol, whether it is from a rock or a wood or clay. You are worshiping the personalized God, but not worshiping the material. Some other religions say that it is a sin to worship idols, but Hindus are not worshiping idols. They can actually see the actual Sakarup Bhagavan in them. There's nothing wrong. Lord Krishna highly recommends you worship the idols, but you're worshipping actually the Sakarup, gods and goddesses in them. So there is a great benefit, because you can focus fully when you're worshipping the Sakarup God in any idol. You go to temples and you have idols. You bring in your Sakarup Istadaiv into those idols. That's the main point. Other religions do not have any business to criticize this way without knowing the fact of worshipping idols. The intricacy of worshipping an idol. Anyhow, so let's focus on today's Bhagavad Gita shlokas, where they have connection to the most secretive knowledge revealed by Lord Krishna, and the Summum Bonum, the supreme good from which everything is derived. So let's focus on the Summum Bonum and the most secretive knowledge of what Lord Krishna taught through Bhagavad Gita. So, what is Summum Bonum? Summum Bonum is the highest good from which everything is derived. According to Lord Krishna, Summum Bonum is that where you focus exclusively on Him with unalloyed devotion. You focus your mind, you always remember Him, chant His names, visit His sacred abodes, talk about His leelas, the pastimes, and His associates, and getting that ecstasy. And all the scriptures, the summary of all the scriptures is the summum bonum of focusing on the God. It is the summary of all the knowledge that we obtain by reading various scriptures. That is the summum bonum. Putting our mind to the God and putting our body in performing our material duties, that dharma. So let's talk about dharma and adharma. Also, what Lord Krishna says about this: virtues, vices, and dharma, adharma, performing your duties or not performing your duties. All these things we can talk about a little later. So, what does he say in some of his shlokas from Bhagavad Gita? Let's get to some of the shlokas and some important features of people with virtues. So, as we talked about Karma Yoga, Bhagavad Gita in the beginning actually does focus on Karma Yoga and then on Karma Sannyas Yoga and then, Bhakti Yoga, that is the devotion toward the Lord, and then Gnana Yoga, acquiring knowledge to reach His abode and not to get into the repeated cycle of rebirth and death. And we will also talk about the saintly virtues of divine natured people in three of the shlokas. Abhayam sattva samshuddhi arjano yoga vyavastitihi. Abhayam sattva samsuddharjana yoga vyavastitihi. Danam damascha yagnascha swadhyayasthapa arjavam. Danam damascha yagnascha swadhyayasthapa arjavam. Ahimsa satyamakrodasthyagaha. Ahimsa satyamakrodasthyagaha shantirapayishunam. Daya bhuteshva loluptvam. Daya bhuteshva loluptvam. Mardavam Hirachapalam Mardavam Hirachapalam Let's get to the third stanza of the various virtues the divine nature people should have according to Lord Krishna. Tejaha Kshamadrutihi Tejaha Kshamadrutihi Shauchamadroho Natimanita Bhavanti Sampadam Bhavanti Sampadam Daivi Mabhijatasya Bharata Bhavanti Sampadam Daivi Mabhijatasya Bharata ah, Mm, 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 The saintly virtues of those endowed with divine nature are the following. One should have these virtues to be called as a divine natured person. First of all, one has to be fearless. He has to have that fearlessness character, purity of mind, steadfastness in spiritual knowledge, charity, get involved in charity, giving away, not to have any greed on amassing more. One should control one's senses, performance of sacrifice, sacrifice everything for the greater good of the society. Study sacred books, acquire the proper knowledge, perform austerities, learn how to live a simple life, and maintain straightforwardness, not to hide anything. Follow non-violence, stick to truthfulness, must have absence of anger, renunciation, peacefulness, restraint from fault finding. Do not find faults with others. Find if you have any faults and correct them instead of finding faults of others. Be compassionate toward all living beings. One must have absence of greed, that covetousness, must have gentleness, modesty. Get rid of that fickle mindedness. Have vigor, that tejas. Forgive others. Have that fortitude in difficult situations to face the problems and get through successfully. Have cleanliness, bodily cleanliness, and then do not have any enmity toward anybody, an absence of vanity. Do not ever self-praise. These are the virtues of divine natured people. Once you have all these, you are qualified to be with the Lord, serving at his lotus feet and experiencing that true peace and bliss. Now, what does Lord Krishna say about that? Summum bonum, the highest good from which everything is derived. He embeds that instruction, that knowledge in this following stanza that we are going to chant. So, Manmana bhava madbhakto, Manmana bhava madbhakto, Madhyaji mam namaskuru. Manmana bhava madbhakto, Madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mame vaishyasi satyam te, Mame vaishyasi satyam te, pratijane priyosi me. Mame vaishyasi satyam te, pratijane priyosi me. One must always think of me, be devoted to me, worship me, and offer obeisance to me. Doing so, you will certainly come to my abode. This is my pledge to you. This is my promise. For you are very dear to me. See, this is the summum bonum. Wisdom information embedded into this stanza. And everything derived from this. When you focus on the Lord, prostrate in front of him, be his devotee, then he's the one who is saying that I promise, I save you, I take you into my shelter, I provide that grace unto you to be with me forever. Let's talk about Lord Krishna's one of the devotees by name Ambarish. What he did and what he demonstrated, that Bhakti Marg, the path of devotion, is the best of all paths available to reach the abode of peace and bliss and experiencing that immortal nectar at the lotus feet of the Bhagavan. Ambarish made use of his knowledge senses and action sense organs in serving the Lord all the time without fail. That's how he could get that moksha, that final liberation, that salvation. He used his speech in glorifying the qualities of God. He used his hands in cleaning the temple and idols. He used his ears in hearing the divine pastimes and got ecstasy. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deities, in the idols. He used his limbs in touching the bodies of the fellow devotees. He used his nose in smelling the fragrance of the tulsi placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. Ambarish also used his tongue in tasting the remnants of the food offered to the Lord, vegetarian food. He used his feet for walking to many of the holy abodes of the Lord. He used his head in offering obeisance to the lotus feet of God. He offered all the paraphernalia, such as garlands and sandalwood, incense sticks, in the service of the Lord. He did all this not with some selfish motive at all. He also, in order to attain the selfless service of Lord Krishna through purification. So, this is how Ambarish got engaged in his unalloyed love and devotion toward the Lord exclusively. And this actually forms the Summum Bonum of Lord Krishna, what he recommends to do as well, which loves his devotees to be engaged in his consciousness, in his devotion. So let's see what Lord Krishna says finally about the renunciation of karma, that karma sannyas. In the beginning, we mentioned that he highly recommended performing karma yoga. Then he said bhakti yoga. And then he said karma sannyas yoga. Of course, gnana yoga. Which one to follow? But let's listen to Lord Krishna as to what exactly he meant by karma sannyas yoga. He highly recommends that one has to fulfill one's material dharma in supporting elderly, your parents, your immediate family, and yourself with minimum utilization without focusing on the results and having this sense of enjoying what all you did. He says that you have only the right to do your actions, do your karma, but do not anticipate any results to enjoy for yourself. Then he said, karma sannyas, we talked about. If you tread the path of spiritualism, this spiritual dharma and renouncing your material dharma, he said, it is okay. When you completely surrender to me, when you seek my shelter, I shall deliver you from all your accumulated sins through many lifetimes. Once you seek my shelter, renouncing all your dharma or adharma, all your duties, all your virtues, all your vices. Simply seek my shelter. Surrender to me 100%. Then I shall deliver you from all your sins. That's what he says. This one is the most secretive knowledge that he imparted to Arjun, and through Arjun, he also taught us the same knowledge. He also gave the same wisdom to us, whatever he imparted to Arjun. That means we also must get that wisdom from Gita. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Ah, ah. If you leave, if you abandon, if you renounce all your dharma, adharma, good or virtue, whatever you do, good karmas, bad karmas, you can also abandon your material dharma. It does not matter. You can abandon your religion to whatever religion you are coming from. Forget about your sex, male or female, old man, young man, or very young, 5 to maybe 8 years old. If you think that this is the path, spiritual path is the one for me, then you abandon all those and then seek my shelter, surrender to me, as it happened in Adi Shankaracharya's case. At the age of 7, he traveled all the way to Himalayas and all over India. And at the age of 32, he went into Mahasamadhi after preaching many things on the spiritual path. So Lord Krishna says that if you have strong faith in spiritual dharma, you can abandon your material dharma, the apara dharma, that is, and paradharma here is the supreme dharma of spiritualism. Tread that path, leave everything, and I shall deliver you from your accumulated sins. Do not you worry. Do not grieve over your sins. You will be delivered. I will cut asunder you from the material bonds, your attachment will be vanished. That moha will be gone forever from this earthly plane. Simply, exclusively, come to my abode, seek my shelter, surrender 100%, then you can enjoy the abode of peace and bliss. Mm-hmm. 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 Herein, I would like to mention about Bhakta Prahalad. Also did the same thing. He never cared for his biological mother and father, being Hiranyakashipu and his wife. He always thought in his mind he does not have any relationship with material bodies and material things. He always thought Lord Krishna was his father, mother, and everything, according to Bhakta Prahalad. Mata nasti, pita nasti, nasti me swajanaha. Mata nasti, pita nasti, nasti me swajano janaha. What does it mean? I do not know any mother, father, or relative. Lord Vishnu is everything to me. Lord Vishnu is everything to me. Lord Rama's brother, Lakshman, also expressed the same sentiment that everything was his brother. Mother, father, brothers, people who they were ruling at the time, and Paramatma. Everything was Lord Rama. That's how he accompanied his brother and lived through thick and thin with him without leaving the shadow of his brother and sister-in-law Sita. He served them with great love and devotion, just like Lord Hanuman did it to Lord Rama. So, according to Bhagavad Gita and Lord Krishna, bhakti path, it means the path of devotion is the best to accomplish our human goals of reaching that salvation, that final liberation, that moksha. Mm, 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 Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. I hope that you learned something about what Summum Bonum is and what is the most secretive wisdom from Vedas, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita. The last stanza. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja is the most secretive stanza in which the wisdom is embedded, seeking Bhagavan's shelter, surrendering 100% to him, guarantees being delivered from all your sins not to come back to this roller coaster life, suffering from all types of maladies. That said, do not forget about your material dharma. Fulfill your material dharma. Purify your mind, intellect. Then take the path of spiritualism, where you can do full justice in balancing material dharma and spiritual dharma, apara dharma and paradharma. And always, always be conscious that you're not this body. You are an Atman, individualized Atman energy emanating from the super soul, that Paramatma. And the very goal is to serve at the lotus feet of that Paramatma. In any spiritual abode, could be Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, Lord Shiva, Lord Shankar. They're all one and the same. Mind it. Although the names are different, the spiritual energy, the universal Atma, is just one, a singularity. That's how in this cosmos there is only one aspect, that is the consciousness, that is the God, that is the Paramatman, that is the absolute Brahman. But if we think that we are just the bodies, we always revolve in its cycle, the repetitious cycle of rebirth and death. Going to school again, passing all the exams, getting a suitable job, getting married, going through all the phases. A lot of difficulties, folks. Let's realize as human beings what we need to do. Get to that Summum Bonum. Post fulfilling your apara dharma, that material dharma, those responsibilities one has to fulfill. Do not run away from them. Put on saffron robes, doing penance in the forest, on a rock. Do not cut at all. Do the right thing. Get those virtues of a divine natured person listed out by the Lord Krishna in his Bhagavad Gita. So eventually, let's chant this last stanza as is uttered by Sanjaya at the end of his commentary to Dhritarashtra. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Shri Vijayodbhutihi Dhruvane Tirmatir Mama Tatra Shri Vijayodbhutihi Dhruvane Tirmatir Mama. You know the meaning of this. As this stanza was uttered in other divine productions. Anyway, wherever there is Lord Krishna, the master, the master of the yoga sadhana, the spiritual master. And wherever there is Arjun, the ambidextrous archer, together there you can find abundant wealth, all the opulence, sumptuous in nature, tremendous power. And then you will have political, economic, and social justice and morale in every direction, in every walk of life. What does this mean? That means Lord Krishna wants you to be having his nature, his qualities. Become like Arjun first. Realize yourself that you are not this body, but an individualized Atma coming from Paramatma. Mind that both of them are within you, right here in your Bhrukuti, and just a few inches above in the Sahasrara Chakra, your Paramatman is residing, watching all your activities and rewarding you as per your karma. I think we have said enough in this divine session. With another divine session in the days to come. So long, Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Swasti. Mm-hmm.